Hey fellas, what you looking at?
I don't know, it's this cool new shrinking app that's supposed to... Uh-oh.
Whoa, I think I shrunk the boss.
Yeah, sorry, Alan. We'll find a way to get you back to size.
Nah, don't worry about it. This is the perfect size since we're talking about all things mini today. Now, Gary, this is a new trend in gardening that requires one to think very small, doesn't it?
Yeah, something you can put in nice tight spaces.
Yeah, I mean, these little fairy gardens can fit just about anywhere, can't they?
They work well on tabletops, balconies. It's a great thing for kids. We just don't grow plants, we grow gardeners.
Sure.
Start
well, this is a great way to begin growing a gardener, isn't it?
Absolutely. At a young age, have them play in the garden. Let them design it with as they want, little paths. Bridges and fairies and small little watering cans for the fairies to hold and water. We have nice miniature plants. Like this is actually a dwarf arborvitae.
Right, little evergreens.
Yep,
Here's another one here.
These are true compact plants. This here is a cedar. It only gets to be max 5 feet tall.
So all of these little dwarf conifers work, and dwarf plants across the board work really well with fairy gardening. When did you here at Twin Pond Farms think, hey, we need to have fairy gardens?
It was several years ago, and I'm like, fairy gardens, really? I'm like, no, what is that about? And then we started out, and people really love it. The little kids absolutely enjoy having a small little garden that they built with mom and dad.
Sure, it's their own little project.
Own little project. And then as the season goes on, they can change stuff out and constantly being changed with colors and that stuff. It doesn't have to be solid as all one point. And it's,
well, you're only limited by your imagination with this.
Absolutely, and kids have an endless imagination.
Don't they, though? So all of these different accessories now are available by coming to a garden center such as this, where you can begin to create these fantastical landscapes.
Absolutely, absolutely. It works out real well. There's an endless amount of options that they can do in different areas, whatever they can imagine and change.
So Gary, do you think this approach to gardening is something that's going to continue to grow?
Oh, absolutely. This is actually all we have left for this year. It flew off the shelves. It was very well.
Really?
Yeah, amazing.
On the wings of fairies, it flew off.
It really did. It really did. These kids loved it. Mom and dad were out there and playing in the garden. They have a little area just for their kid to play with and do.
That's
it worked out real well.
Well, I have to say, you've pretty well convinced me that I need to have one of these up at my farm.
Absolutely. You'll love it. You really love it.
Well, you guys are doing a great job. Keep up the good work, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a great place to use a bold pattern.
My friend Toby Fairley has a fun idea when we come back. And really, now you don't need a lot of space to garden. Don't go away. Growing your own food doesn't mean that you need a huge garden. People everywhere are finding fun ways to use the space they have to grow the herbs and vegetables they want. Container gardening is a great option when you want to grow food for your table, especially if you live in a tight urban space. They're compact and can fit in just about any patio or balcony. Then, of course, there are raised beds. You see, gardening in raised beds is an easy way to efficiently use small space. You can build them to fit the area you have and plant them with a variety of herbs and vegetables. These days, people are really beginning to incorporate edibles into all kinds of unique spaces. You may see tomatoes or basil grown alongside flowers like marigolds or black-eyed Susans in a front yard. Then there are places where community gardens are a solution for apartment dwellers, and rooftop gardens supply restaurants with some of their freshest ingredients. The thing is, these plants can be grown just about anywhere where there's enough sun. So look around. Chances are you can grow some fresh vegetables and herbs wherever you live. We'll be right back with a mini portion of risotto and a way to add a little style to your mini front porch. Don't go away. You know, when you're trying to create something stylish in a limited space, sometimes it can be challenging. First, think vertical. Go up rather than out. These are French flower cans, and they've been painted green. Have one that's a little larger, medium sized, and then small, filled with soil, stacked, and then planted with herbs, dianthus, and some supertunias.
A lot of people are afraid to use a large scale or bold pattern in a small space, but it's actually just the opposite. It's a great place to use a bold pattern like a damask or a print, particularly in rooms like a powder room, a small entryway, maybe a study. You can really create a little jewel box effect. So don't be afraid to use bold patterns in small spaces to help you design outside your comfort zone.
I've got a recipe for serving just one person and a look at designing for the concrete jungle. Garden Style will be right back. You know, one of the challenges in cooking is if you just want to cook a small quantity, maybe you just want to prepare a recipe for one. Hey, take a look at a cookbook. The recipes are typically for 6, 8, or 12 people. This is my favorite recipe for risotto. This dish is made from an Italian rice called Arborrio rice from the city of Arborrio. The reason it's so good is it's kind of got a creamy, chewy quality to it, and you can serve it with all sorts of things. You can get creative with risotto, but it's actually very simple. What we're going to do is start with just sauteing some onions and garlic on medium heat. I'm going to take about 3 tablespoons of olive oil here, and then I'm going to take a yellow onion that I've coarsely chopped. This is a large yellow onion, about half of one is all you need. And then of course some garlic. And all you need is 1 clove of garlic that's been crushed. So I'm just going to get that clove of garlic that's crushed and get it in there. And we're going to saute this until these onions are clear. While these are cooking, we're going to get our stock started. We're just going to use some vegetable stock, 2 cups of it, that I'm going to put on low heat. Now, as you can see, our onions are becoming very clear. This is the point at which you need to add the arborio rice. I've got a half a cup here, and I'm going to add this arborio rice to the saute. What we want to do here is make sure that the rice becomes completely coated in the olive oil, and we're basically going to toast the rice. And this will take about 2 minutes. We're going to do this until the rice becomes translucent like the onions. So now what we'll do is we'll just begin to take a little bit of the stock and begin to add it to the rice. This just adds to the flavor. What we're doing is we're going to add about a half a cup at a time and let this cook down just a little bit and add another half of a cup. See, by adding the hot stock a little bit at a time, you keep the temperature up. These little granules of rice, you want them to absorb as much moisture as possible. They cook and they become soft and tender. You get that creaminess that risotto is so well known for. Okay, this is looking really good, and we're at the point now where we need to take that last half cup of stock and we need to go ahead and add it to the risotto. All right? And then what you can do, and this is where you can get creative, you want to add a tablespoon of fresh herbs of your choice. I'm using 3 tablespoons of thyme, oregano, and rosemary. I often like to use flat leaf Italian parsley. Again, here's where you can get creative. And just stir those fresh herbs into the risotto. All right, now one last ingredient. I'm going to use some Parmesan cheese. I just love this, it's finely grated. I have a half a cup here, and I'm just going to add this to the risotto. And the wonderful thing about Parmesan, it's one of those hard cheeses and it will last a long time in your refrigerator. Now I've got it all mixed together here. So there we have it. It's just a matter of plating it up. It's beautiful. And I'm just going to take a few of these fresh herbs, apply them to the top just to give it a little garnish. And then I've got a little extra Parmesan over here. And there we go. It just smells magnificent. I'll give it just a little taste. It's so good. Give this recipe a try. Keep it around, you're going to love it. And remember, get creative with it.
You have to make every inch of the space count.
As I'm sure you know, small spaces are very common in New York City. But my friend Amber Frida shows her take on how to add some style. Don't go away. There are many creative ways to tackle a small space. My friend Amber Frida in New York tells us about her approach.
We always start with the functionality of the room. What is the purpose of it? So, with a bar or dining area, we're thinking of how is it going to be functional and comfortable for that purpose? And then secondly, how do we make it look beautiful and interesting? You have to make every inch of the space count. Things just have to stand out more. I would say whenever you're trying to do groupings of items, always think in terms of odd numbers. Groups of 3s and 5s tend to look better for some reason than even numbers. Also thinking of staggering the heights of things, so having a taller item in the back and then coming down gradually in your grouping is always more interesting looking than everything all being the same. I think that if you have a really small area to garden in, you want to use big containers because you're not going to have to water as often, they're less likely to blow over, they're not going to dry out as easily. It's going to be lower maintenance for you. Your plants are going to tend to do better and be healthier. One of the biggest challenges of roof gardens is that we want things that aren't going to be too top heavy because we don't want them to blow over in the wind. So when we're picking evergreens, for example, or even types of trees that we're going to use, we pick things that are more bottom heavy. I like to look to nature for examples. If you look at the plants that do well on a mountain, those are usually bottom heavy conifers. You're not going to see the lollipop shaped trees on top of the mountain because they're going to blow right over. We try to break up the space by creating different outdoor rooms. So we might have one space for dining, another space for relaxation, another space for the children to play, whatever it is that specific client's needs are. By breaking up the space into separate rooms, it feels more like a living space, like the interior space. People can relate to that. I do frequently get people that want to have a kitchen garden. They want to use herbs of some kind. The best herbs for containers, I find, are basil, oregano, thyme, parsley, chives, tomatoes, moving over to vegetables, eggplant. So those are the most common things that we use in our garden. People in the city are surrounded by concrete and steel all day long. They're in their offices, surrounded by traffic and noise and pollution. So in a city, it just makes perfect sense to have a little oasis that you can come out to and unwind and connect with nature, and at the same time know that you're contributing something good to the environment. People need a place to unwind and relax, and having a little urban oasis is the perfect opportunity to do that.
Thanks for joining me in today's show, and I hope I've inspired you to go mini in some aspect of your life. Hey Chris, how about a little help down here?
Hey, yeah, what are you doing down there?
I just finished the mini show.
Oh yeah, well come on, let's get you back inside.
Hey, I'd like to go around the garden first. How about it?
Okay, all right.
You're great.
We're good.
Okay. All right. Suddenly, I'm very afraid. Where's Jerry?
Here I am, here's my eyes.
There he is. There he is. Oh.
Okay, here we go.
Got that
Stand by.
sinister smile. Right.
Waiting for these itty bitty little rice granules to go from being real hard and tough to soft and pliable and really soft and delicious.